Welcome to Violin Adventures number 107. 107? No, 207. This week we finish up our 1800s violin. We take a look at a couple bows and our story is a bit better this week. Hope you enjoy. I want to share with you a little story about this violin. So the owner of this violin was about 12 or 13 years old when her father, who had a second job cleaning and doing maintenance in this old hotel, had found this violin in the basement. He loved violin. He had taken lessons when he was a little boy, and so he had found this violin. And he brought his daughter to work one day when she was about 12 or 13 years old. There was a sort of a homeless guy that hung around the hotel, and he could actually play the violin, and she was able to hear him play beautifully. Well, it turns out she ends up with the violin and played it for a while, and then when she was about 17, she was going to play in an orchestra and had to travel. She didn't realize how unsafe it can be to travel with a violin, and the violin got put with the luggage, and sadly it got cracked. So this violin has gone through quite a bit, and it was an old violin when they got it. So it'll be nice to get this violin back to singing, and I hope it sounds better now than it ever has sounded. Okay, I was just getting this violin ready to set up. This is the one with the new neck. And as I was putting in the sound post, I can see a faint sound post crack that's been glued in the past, and it's still closed. But we know when this gets under pressure, it can open right up. So first let me show you the crack. I don't know if you can see it, but right there, you can see this line that goes right along there, and that's right where the sound post sits. So I'm going to open this up. Shouldn't be too bad because I used hide glue and it's not that old yet. We'll open it up and inlay a sound post patch, and then we'll be ready to go in. Okay, we've got our hot hide glue. We've got our patch ready to go in. So I'm going to double check these cracks, make sure that they have glue in them. Okay, we're going to let this dry overnight, and in the morning, if all looks well, we can close it up again. All right, we're taking the clamps off of this sound post patch. And I put an extra cleat in here just to make sure there's no buzzing. What I'm going to do now is take down the patch so that it's at the proper thickness, and take down the little cleat here. This ready to close up. So first I'm going to put a sealer coat on our patch here that is now graduated to the right depth, to the right thickness, and a little bit over the cleat there that we added. So there is our top. And there's our label, restored by Cheryl Macomber. So now we're going to close it up. The clamps are coming off. Okay, our violin is ready to play. Okay, it's got a good sound. Okay, I think this just needs some playing, is all it needs. This is the first time it's been played since we gave it a new bass bar, a new neck, and we had to do the work on all the edges of this violin, so it needs time. So it just needs some more playing and it'll be ready to go. It's definitely responding well. Well, I think I'm going to clean up the shop and then play this again tomorrow and see how it's sounding. Okay, I've let this rest overnight. Let's try it, see how it sounds. So it has settled in a bit and has this beautiful tone, and it's going to just open up as it starts getting played again. So I'll play Shalom at the end of the video. And well, I was just curious how our violin is coming, so I ran over a scale on it, and it's got this rich tone that's starting to come out now. Now it is really nice to play. It's just got rich tone and a fullness. A look at the professor's cello. This is his last coat. Well, do you want to watch me take apart a bow? Well, let's go. So there you go. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 pieces. Okay, we have 2 beautiful bows here, all rehaired and ready to go out. So I'm going to put them in a nice bag. Now I want to give you all an update on the sending bows. We used to be able to send the tubes and there was no problem. In the last year, it seems like they've changed the rules. And if you send a tube, you'll pay probably double the price. So you can take your tube, if you have one, and put it in, you can put it in a box like this where it's pretty strong to have 3 sides on the box. And you could put your tube in there, or I would tape my bows to the box and close it up. That's one way. Or you can have just a regular, this is a 4x4 box that it could come in. But as you can see, this one has been bent. And I have received in the past just one time I received a bow that was broken in a box. So I like to send it either taped to a piece of wood or double with a tube in a box or something. The tubes were the strongest way to go. So if you have a tube, just put it in a box, and it's about $15 from the West Coast to here, and it's probably cheaper if you're closer. So now this one came in a nice box that somebody made, and this is great. And he has two bows, so they'll be stronger than one bow. But I am going to, since it would be the same price, I'm going to put it in this box and then in one of these boxes so that it has double protection. All right. We're taking up in our book Violins and Violinists by Franz Farga, and we're on chapter 7 and a much happier story today. The German School of Violin Making. It is not known whether or not Jacob Stainer had any pupils whom he initiated into his art. He had, however, two brothers, Marcus and Paul. The former was a skillful violin maker. The latter lived in Absen and was a carpenter. There are some good violins made by Marcus Stainer, but his gambas are still better and delight the eye with their masterly finish. We know that for some time Marcus worked with his brother Jacob, whose violin design he copied, as the demand for Stainer violins increased. In Stainer's time, there lived at Bolzano a man called Matthias Alban, 1621 to 1712. As he was as old as Stainer, it is most unlikely that Alban was his pupil, but we know that they were close friends, and Alban probably learned a great deal from Stainer. He tried to combine the qualities of the Stainer violins with those of the Amati model. Alban's instruments have the same form as those of Stainer, but are somewhat elongated. He was active up to a very advanced age, trying to improve on his design and using excellent wood and a beautiful amber varnish. This explains why relatively high prices were paid for his instruments even during his lifetime, and as he lived to be 91, he was able to spend his last years in comfort and security. More important than Alban was Matthias Klotz, 1656 to 1743, who is regarded as the founder of the violin-making industry of Mittenwald. This little Bavarian town, nestling under the protecting slopes of the Karwendal Mountains, lies on the old trade route from Augsburg to Italy, and owed its first boom to the Venetian merchants who stored their ware and held their fairs there. The 30 Years' War destroyed its wealth, and fairs were transferred to Bolzano, and the inhabitants of Mittenwald found themselves compelled to return to agriculture. Some of them eked out an existence as hawkers. It was left to Matthias Klotz to bring new prosperity to the town. At an early age, he showed that he had the stuff of a good instrument maker in him, perhaps of a new Stainer. This explains why he attracted the attention of the Italian merchants, some of whom were still visiting Mittenwald occasionally. They took the young fellow with them to Padua, where they persuaded the famous Giovanni Rochelle to accept him as an apprentice for 6 years. All in all, however, Klotz is said to have spent almost 20 years in Italy before he returned home. His long years abroad had made him observant and clever. He told himself that Mittenwald was very favorably situated, that most of its inhabitants were trained wood carvers or experienced merchants, and that the increasing demand for violins promised well for large-scale violin making. It is strange that Klotz, trained in the Italian tradition, did not work with the Cremonese pattern as his model, but made very close imitations of Stainer's violins. The reason is not far to seek. There was an ever-growing market for violins by the Tyrolese masters, and the foreign merchants searched everywhere for them. Klotz was a good businessman, and so he satisfied the general demand for Steiner violins. There was very good maple wood in the southern Tyrol, and the pine forests of the Carwendel Mountains abounded in the best resonant wood for the bellies. Matthias Klotz had many pupils who were busy day in and day out. Innumerable copies of Steiner violins were made in hundreds of workshops and fitted in a good many cases with forged Steiner labels. There is no evidence that Matthias Klotz had recourse to such dubious practices. He stood firmly on his own feet, and many of his excellent violins were sold to England at high prices. His instruments were greatly valued during his lifetime for their exquisite tone. Their varnish, however, was somewhat thinnish, of a dark brown color with yellow highlights. Later on, English collectors offered a very high prices for some especially good Klotz violins. For one instrument, Lord Wickham offered 300 francs in cash and an annual rent of 100 for life. Okay, we're going to stop there and we're going to pick up on page 75 next time. Freddie wants to chat.
Hi, I Freddie. That's me. And I have a friend, Mr. Brandon Fisk. He sent me some pictures of a violin that he made all by himself. Wow! Here's the pictures.
Mr. Brandon Fisk completed his violin and the varnishing, and he's very happy with how it came out. But oh my, it was difficult, he says. He spent months practicing on scrap wood, and he almost didn't have enough for the violin. This time he made a violin out of the Maggini model. He wasn't brave enough to do the double purfling on the back, but he did make a little inlaid design by copying off of a Maggini poster.
Wow, look at that. Wasn't that great? He did a good job. Well, there's somebody else that sent me some more pictures, and we'll put his in next week. All right. Thanks for sending your pictures to me on the projects you're working on. This is great. Well, I'll see you next time. Bye.
The Hebrew Minute. Al tira ki imcha ani, al tishta ki ani Eloheka, imatztika, af azartika, af timaktika, bimin zidki. Fear not, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you. Yes, I will help you. Yes, I will uphold you with the right hand of my righteousness. If you know where this is found, please leave it in the comments below. Well, look at a beautiful day. Clouds in the sky, blue sky, green, yellow, and red leaves are just turning. Let's go in and see what's going on in the shop. Well, here's our new violin, and you know, no carving got done this week, but maybe next week. Here's our 1800's violin with the new neck and all those repairs. It's sounding really good. We're going to keep playing it for a little bit. And over here is the professor's cello. It's looking really nice. So it's hanging out here drying. Well, next week I'll be taking off for Sukkot or the Feast of Tabernacles, taking a little time off. But if I have something interesting to show you, I will put up a video, and if not, don't worry, I'll be back. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for your wonderful comments. Thank you for the thumbs up, and thank you to the new subscribers. And until next time, bye.